All right, ladies, welcome back. It's good to see your faces. I'm so sorry I've been MIA for what, 2 weeks mostly. Hopefully the worst is past, sickness wise and hospitalizations wise and all the things wise. Good Lord Almighty. Um, I want to run through some quick housekeeping. We have a big week. I always like to do a big week leading up, and I know everybody's like super busy trying to get their gifts wrapped and all the things and travel and food and all the things. But I like to give you guys tons of options and support. So whatever you can show up for, show up for. Whatever you can't, don't feel bad. There's going to be the recordings. I just like to be able to get as much in front of you guys as you have options to do, especially this week leading up to Christmas, right? So on the 20th, Terry Collette, who I love Terry so much. She's an amazing evidential medium. She is usually with us every year in the Christmas program. Her family is having some health issues too, so she had to cancel, but I reached out to Marie Hess. So I didn't get to be with Marie with you guys this year, but Marie is also super awesome. Marie teaches mediumship as well. So I reached out to Marie and asked if she knew of anybody that could step in to fill in for Terry. And she actually has a student that is at her master's level of development that is needing to step in and start her group readings. And so she asked, she said, Nikki, would that be okay if she came in and did the group reading? She said, if you're not comfortable with that, I can come in and do another one, but I really trust this student of mine. I've mentored her for a long time. She does great in her one-on-one readings, and we're really ready to get her out to do gallery type readings. Would that be okay? So I said, I'm going to check with the group. How do you guys feel about that? Are you okay to be guinea pigs for this gal that has mentored under Marie for quite some time? Does that feel good to you guys?
Absolutely.
Marie's great. You guys know that. She pulls names, she pulls dates, she pulls lots of really hardcore evidential stuff. So I'm kind of excited to see what one of her mentees, how she is developed. So her name is Karina Hemby, and she will be with us on Tuesday, the 20th. On the 21st, that is winter solstice. So Kate Gray is going to pop in and do a winter solstice and rune readings for us. So that's going to be something that's option for you guys. Those will both be at our regular time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the 22nd, I believe it's also at 6:30. Kat is going to be in with us, Kat Lynn. She's actually here with me right now in Florida. She'll be flying to Oregon on the 20th. She has also been in the Elliott family sickness for the past week and a half because this whole entire household got it. And Kat was here and also got it. So, but Kat generally does the Thanksgiving dinner meetup and the Christmas dinner meetup with the kiddos and people in spirit. So on the 22nd, she will be doing Christmas dinner in spirit with the kids. She will also, usually what she does the Christmas dinner in spirit, and it kind of leads into a group reading after that. So it's very unique the way that Kat does it. She's super connected to spirit. She kind of does it different. She reads different than a lot of the other mediums that we bring in. So it's usually very interesting and super immersive. She has studied brain heart coherence breathing. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. I want to say it's a Bruce Lipton technique, but I'm not positive that that's who it is. I've studied lots of people and they all kind of just get jumbled in my brain. But so she'll start out with some brain heart coherence breathing techniques to get you guys in and immersed into that to do the dinner meetup. And then she'll move into group readings. So that's on the 22nd. Of course, on the 23rd, that is Christmas Eve. No, that's not Christmas Eve, is it? No, it's not. 23rd, we have open. I'll probably put up a thread discussion just to check in to see how everybody's doing, where you're at. We want to really make sure this week we're leading into presence. Now, that doesn't mean if you need to purge out some pain and sit with that, that's okay to do. This is where we want focus this week, guys, is of course, feel it, because the only way to heal it is to feel it, but don't become it. Okay? You're in charge of your thoughts. You're in charge of your perspective. You're in charge of living your truth. So it's okay to grieve the fact that the physical presence is not there, you don't want that to become your entire focus and your entire story though. Okay. So it's like, oh God, I'm really, really missing Turk. I really wish he was here in physical. I'm really gonna, have this crying spell for that. But then I'm gonna shift into him being here in spirit. So this is the point where you really start to activate and initiate that intentional shifting into your deepest truth. And if you don't have a really hardcore set truth, because I know a lot of you are working on that, take the validations that if you haven't gotten some extreme validations yet in group readings, but you've seen other people, take that as proof, guys. If you haven't gotten your evidential stuff yet, and don't worry, because they all piggyback off each other, right? There's been a lot of extreme guidance that's come through instead of kids this one, and I think that's because this group as a whole needs a lot of that guidance, because there's a lot of deeper truth seeking within this group still. But take those validations that other people have gotten as proof of there is no death. These kids, these people have simply left their bodies. They're not dead, they're not gone, there's been no end. They have outgrown their bodies. They're invisible with superpowers. Write some of these down as your catch mantras, your catch phrases that you can intentionally shift into, right? So you do the big purge. Oh, I'm so sad. Leaf's not here physically, do all the crying things that you need to do. And then you start to literally say to yourself, oh yeah, that's because he outgrew his body, but he's here in spirit. That's because he was too big for the earth life. That's because, he's invisible with superpowers, all of these things. That is how I got through those first few Christmases. That is why now I don't have physical missing, because I live in that truth 100% of the time. Okay. So on the 23rd, that's what that's going to look like. 24th and 25th. I'll check in with the group. Just so you guys know, I will keep my phone handy, just like on Thanksgiving, and none of you guys reached out for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to call that a win. It doesn't mean if you need to reach out to me on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day, that doesn't mean it's not a win. Just know that part of you guys being in the holiday program means that I'm here through Messenger or through the group if you do need me. If you're down in it and you're like, oh shit, here it comes, I need somebody to remind me, you can reach out and say, Nikki, I'm down in it. I can't seem to shift. And I'll say, breathe. They're right there with you. Let's breathe. Let's breathe. Get present. Let's ground. And I'll walk you through that. Okay. That's part of you having somebody right here to walk you right through that and get you grounded and get you present, because the point of power is in the present moment, you guys. Your kids they can't get to you. You can't feel them. You can't hear them in your thoughts. You can't discern them. You cannot see their signs if you are not in the present moment. If you're ruminating about them being dead and gone, if you're ruminating about the moment of the shattering, if you're ruminating about Christmas past, if you're ruminating or foreseeing about Christmas future, those are all things that shut the door on them. Okay? They cannot get to you if you are not present. So Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I'll be busy doing my stuff, but I will have my phone handy. Okay. Sometimes in the group, I don't get notifications like Christine. I didn't even see that you had posted until like literally 2 hours ago, when I was like, oh God. And, thank God we're a great group and everybody else had already come on. I'm like, okay, they've already fielded that. But so if you're really down in it and you need me right then, shoot me a message through Messenger, guys. Okay. I will check my phone. I'll make sure and get on it. If you're not getting a hold of me, hit the call button and I'll hear it ring, and then we can get on Messenger that way. Whatever it is, if you need me, I'll be right there. Okay. All right. The 26th, day after Christmas, Crystal Ewing is actually a practicing medium. And she is a member of the holiday program. She has never done group readings or live readings before. She usually just does card pulls. So she expressed interest that she would like to try her hand and use the group as kind of a guinea pig to kind of stretch her wings a little bit in her mediumship, with people that she trusts in a private setting, which is you guys, to try out a group reading and just see what that feels like. So I think that's kind of fun that we have a member that, kind of like Debbie did. Debbie needed some practice sitters because she's kind of stretching her wings as a medium. Crystal wants to do the same and kind of stretch her wings with people she trusts and has gotten to know a little bit within this group. So she's going to come on, and it'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 26th, where she's going to try out her hands at a group reading with you guys. So I think that'll be neat. 27th, we're going to have Dave Gieselman and Stephanie, who are acquaintances of mine, friends of mine that I know through outside of the group. Dave G is a master breathwork coach. He's amazing. He works with women, and entrepreneur women, as a breathwork coach, and he does very immersive, intensive breath work, and it gets you into flow state. A lot of you have done breath work with him because I've introduced him, and he was a speaker in Healing Warrior Parents one time. And I know Caroline's done breath work. Angie, you've done breath work with him before. Super intense breath work, guys. But the thing about this breath work with Dave, it works on a mind, body, spirit level. It works not only to get you out of fight or flight. So it's so important for the grief stuff, because it can actually reset your nervous system, but it can also get you into a flow state where you can have actual connections with your kids. Caroline, I think you've had connections with Zeke during breath
I
work with
did. He does
Dave.
it. He is incredible. It is incredible. It's hard a little bit. I mean, it's intense breath work, but I could, because I mean, it's hard to keep going. And I could hear Zeke going, keep going, mom. You got it. You got it. You got it. And then when you stop breathing and you're in that flow place, it's incredible. And I know for several weeks after that, my fight or flight was much more, level. I was not in fight or flight.
Yeah.
And if y'all are like me, I mean, it doesn't take, but if you raise your voice at me, I'm back to,
Yeah.
but no, it was incredible. It was incredible.
It is really good stuff.
Yeah.
And he has a very he's very much like me in that he doesn't mince words. He's very down to earth. He just is very direct. And that he's coached me a little bit in some areas, and he'll just be like, Nikki, shut the fuck up and stop crying about it and do something about it. I'm like, and that's exactly what I need to hear, because most people don't tell me that. I'm all the time telling other people that, but people don't say that to me. So like for me, he's the perfect coach for me sometimes in like my life coaching stuff, right? So but he's a masculine energy, and it's nice to bring in a masculine energy with all the feminine energy that we have sometimes, and he's a safe masculine energy. So the breath work is very intense. It's breath work like I had not done before. And he's very good at walking you through it. He said in the very beginning of the first session that I did with him, he was like, there's going to be, and it's short, but it feels very long. He said, there's going to be a point in this where you're going to want to stop doing it. And you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm going to die. He said, just take that 30 seconds and push through. And I was like, whatever. Like, this guy's full of shit. I was thinking, whatever. Well, guess what? He is not full of shit. There was 30 seconds. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm hyperventilating. And I was like, just push through, push through. And what happened for me was it broke through a level of fear that I had, that I did not realize that I had, that I still needed to work through. It was a fear that I had about dying, not because I was scared to die, but what it was is it actually broke open the fact that I wanted to step further into living my earth life. So it was very integral. And this was like last year, guys. I had already stepped into integration and to thriving, but there were things I was holding back on still. And it brought up this whole level of healing that I needed to step into that I didn't realize was kind of bubbling there under the surface. So it can really bring up some levels in your healing that you thought maybe you had worked through all the way that you haven't. So if you join in on the breath work, just be open to letting it bring up whatever it brings up, and for you to deconstruct it and move through it. It can be an extremely powerful experience. The great thing about Dave is he offers, what is it, Caroline? Once or twice a week, he offers free breathwork sessions online.
Yeah, he has twice a week on Saturdays. It is at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He has, and that's for both male and female together. It's a small group though, and this is free. And then on, I think it's Thursday nights, but
Yes,
Thursday.
it's like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. his time, and he's in California. So
He's in California.
for
Yeah.
me, that was a little bit too late for me to be doing that. I have never done the women's thing because I don't want to be breathing like that at 10 p.m.
Right.
But yeah, he does twice a week. I've done the Saturday several times. And it's
So,
great.
So this will be a good introduction for those of you that aren't familiar with his work. The great thing is you can follow up and do more work with him, and you can do it for free. Stephanie is a mentor of his that has worked with him on his life coaching, and she is a Reiki master out of New York. She's a great gal. I've been in coaching with her in sessions with Dave, and she's got a great, delightful, artful energy, and she's going to be doing Reiki along with Dave doing breath work. They've done some sessions this way during. Have you been in breath work with Stephanie when she's done Reiki with Dave during breath work? Caroline, no? Okay. So Stephanie's great. She'll be joining Dave during the breath work. So it'll be a twofer. It's going to be Reiki and breath work in one session. So good times. So that's what we have coming up over the next, span of the next,
10 days.
10
7
days
days.
or so. So good stuff, guys. And then of course, after that, we've got some closing stuff that's going to come out where we'll be leading into the new year. Some stuff with Kat, some stuff with Kathy and I, where we're going to be setting some New Year's intentions for healing, things of that nature. Kathy and I were talking before everybody got on that probably end of January, for those of you that haven't, and some of you that have been in classes, I know some of you like to retake classes, revisit classes. It's been a long time since Kathy and I started a new wave of classes. We usually run our classes in waves. It's been a long time since we've done a toolbox class, an Abraham Hicks Death Lectures class, Seeking Deeper Truth class, an intentional shifting class, a facing your triggers class, a shifting death class. These are all classes that Angie's taken a lot of these classes. Caroline's taken a lot of these classes. Lee's taken a lot of these classes. Rebecca's taken a lot of these classes. So these are all very foundational classes that you build. Becky, I think you've gotten in on probably not those specific classes. You kind of jumped in at the end, like more advanced classes. But these are foundational building classes where when some of you that haven't taken classes, you look around and you see where like Angie and Lee and Rebecca and Caroline and these kind of further out people they are where they are because they really committed to a lot of these foundational stuff where they built upon it. So Kathy and I were talking about it's probably due time for us to go back and start running some of those. So keep your eyes open for those. We are going to start running some of those at the end of January for y'all, if that's something that interests you, and we'll gauge it in the big group. So, once we kind of hit the end of the year, we start thinking holiday program, and we're kind of, the rest of it goes out the window. And then we're like, oh yeah, we probably need to start giving everybody opportunity to get that foundational stuff for their healing back going too. So, lots of stuff coming up. Other than that, what I want to do today is I just want to get in touch with you guys. I feel like we haven't had a chance to sit down and talk because we've been so busy and everybody's been sick and pardon me, all the things. So I want to see where you're at. And I want to see if you feel like so far you have been able to take something away from the program. If you feel like it's lightened the holiday season so far, what you're feeling as far as moving into this week. I just want to get a feel for where everybody's at. I want you guys to ask questions. I know a lot of times when we've had mediums on, you guys have had spiritual questions. Guys, you can ask those questions here too. There's so much information collectively here that people know. Lee is a wealth of information. I am a wealth of information. Kathy, Caroline, Rebecca, like all of us have so much collective information within our truth for the seeking that we've done and the studying that we've done, that we just have like massive amounts of wisdom here. There are no stupid questions. So if you have questions like about reincarnation, about near-death experiences, about the Council of Elders, about life reviews, about life between lives, about any of it, ask away. Okay, so we're going to open it up for discussion. It can be about earth life, it can be about spirit life, it can be about afterlife, it can be about what you're struggling with right now. It's really just anything's fair game, guys. Okay, that's why we're here. I will tell you, coaching is done best when we get into the nitty-gritty of where you're at and what you need. I am not a coach. Kathy is not a coach that we come up here and we just verbally vomit and we regurgitate stuff that we say on a platform. That's not how we coach. We coach by getting into it with you, right? Those of you that work with me privately know that. Rhonda, you can attest to that. It works best if you say, hey, Nikki, this is where I'm at, and we get into it, girl, right? Like that's where we go. So don't be scared to do that, because that is where you're going to get the most for your money here. Okay. So go for it. Who's up? And I'm sorry. I'll say I'm sorry for coughing beforehand, because I'm still got some residual coughing going on. Okay. So you're all good. Everybody's good and hyped for Christmas.
I'll go if nobody else.
Go
I have
for it.
I have earth life stuff, and I've been this is what I think that I have done. And I have a long history of people pleasing and being a martyr and taking care of other people and not me and blah 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 blah. But when Zeke left his body, and when I first came into Healing Warrior Parents, I said that I knew that his death was either going to destroy me or set me free. And I remember in those very early days and I kept saying, Zeke's about to set us free, y'all. He's going to set, and that is what I want. I mean, that's the only way that I can do this. But my life, I want to live and I want to be free, but I don't like my life. Like I am not living a life that I want to live. And I don't.
Okay, I'm going to stop you.
Stop me.
So the first thing I want to say to you, Caroline, first and foremost, and this, okay, I want you each to take this and put it in the context that you need it in. Is put that back in here, Omri. Is measured progress.
Okay.
Okay. Healing. It's all about measured progress. None of this happens overnight. So this is not a thing where you say, I want to be healed, I want to be free, I want to live a life I love. That's awesome that that's the end goal, but none of it happens overnight. So it's so important for you to take a look at the measured progress that you have along the way to achieving that. So Caroline, in your context, it's going to be really important to look at your life right now versus the life you were living before Zeke left body or shortly after he left body, because I started working with you shortly after Zeke left body, and I know where your life was then versus where your life now. And I see the measured progress that you're living a happier life now than you were living at that point. So I know there has been measured progress toward this goal that you have. So something that happens with the human brain is, and this is especially important in healing too, you guys, especially when the waves come, because when the waves come or when contrast comes, Caroline, and all this shit is piling on, it's like, I just wanted to live a happy life. I just wanted to be set free. So it's very easy to get back into the, I haven't gotten anywhere.
Okay.
Same thing when a wave comes, right? oh my God, I haven't done any healing whatsoever. The brain is tricky that way. That's why it's really important to take note of the ways things have changed,
Okay.
right?
And Caroline, if you go back and watch yourself in some of the videos from last year's holiday program, girlfriend, you come a long, long way.
I know. I mean, I am secure in the knowledge that my son is not dead. And
Right.
99% of the time I am secure in that. And yes, that is very much measured progress. I'm
Well,
slipping back into old behaviors that are not good for me, and but this is like shadow work bullshit, motherfucking son of a bitch bullshit that is like,
well, and
but
that's
yeah,
the
okay.
thing. I heard you say yesterday with Rachel, when does it get better? When does the shit storm stop? Guess what?
It
It
done.
does it doesn't. And so you have to start to change your mindset,
Okay.
because if you move through your life saying, "Oh, at some point it's going to get easier because it's going to stop, the contrast is going to stop," then you're always setting yourself up for failure. That's not how it works. The contrast stops because you shift your perspective in the way that you look at the
Okay.
contrast. So when the
Okay.
contrast comes, like I can tell you, Caroline, like we're uninsured, right? We're going to
Right.
have probably a $90,000 hospital bill with Tom. We were there for 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Me being sick, it's like, this week it could have been like, what the hell gives? I could have went back into victim mode. It could have been all of it, like, and the hits keep coming, and the hits keep,
Mhm.
and I'm past that way of
Mhm.
thinking though. So it's like, okay, what does this come to teach me? Okay, what does this come to teach me? And it can be as simple as like, okay, Nikki, this has come to teach you, get your ass on the phone and talk to somebody about Obamacare. Like it can be that simple of a lesson. Like stop being stubborn. And yeah, you have to join the system to some degree, right?
Okay.
So it can be that can be a lesson for me. It can be a lesson like, well, Nikki, you need to take better care of yourself. You have not been eating healthy the way you had for 2 years. So
Right.
I always stop and say, okay, what is the lesson here? Instead of saying, oh, I have more contrast because I'm being punished. So, and it's a very natural thing to think that, but every single bit of contrast that comes to teach us. So when you start to shift your mindset, you move through that contrast and that struggle in a different way. And so
Okay.
you no longer feel like it's a constant barrage of crap coming down on you, because you're moving through it with a different perspective,
Okay.
right? So then it's like, oh, well, this happened. Okay, well, I learned that lesson and I'm going to handle it differently. And it's like, oh, well, this happened now. Okay, well, I learned that lesson. So it doesn't constantly feel like stuff is piling up. You're just moving through things differently with ease, right?
Okay. Okay.
Now,
Yeah, I've
that
been
being
having a bit
said,
of the victim mentality a bit, and I don't want that. And I'm like, Caroline, stop. Get out of
okay,
that groove. No, 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 no.
so within that, that's a big one. So within
Yes.
that, that's your first step, because all of this stuff is piling on, and it's going to pile on, so that your first lesson is to have the awareness that you're thinking in old ways,
Right. Okay.
right? So your
Okay.
next step is to say, okay, I learned that lesson. I'm thinking with a victim mentality. So now
Right.
I'm going to break things. Another thing is you have to break things down. It's just like you've
Okay.
heard me talk about the grief stew. So
Yes.
what did we do with the grief stew, Caroline? We took out a carrot, we took
Right.
out a pea, we took out each little piece, and we said, what is this piece? Let's look at it. What do I do with this piece? Instead of going, oh my God, the whole grief stew is bubbling, we dissected it. So instead of all of life bubbling, you take each piece and you say, okay, what is this carrot here to teach me? What is this pea here to teach me? Because if life is bubbling as a stew, it's going to be overwhelming and you're going to slip back into victim mode. If you
Yeah.
really just take one section at a time and deal with it one by
Okay.
one, then you can move through it much more efficiently and spirit led,
Okay.
right? And this is no different than in grief, you guys. For
Right.
those of you that aren't dealing with it you probably are dealing with it in life and maybe in grief as well, but it's the same thing in grief. You have to take each piece out, because if you don't, the grief stew bubbles and you feel like you're drowning in it. So you have to say, okay, this piece is me missing the physical. This piece is a trigger. This piece is I'm not setting boundaries with people. This piece is I'm not doing the work I need to do to seek
Right.
my truth. You know, you have to start taking pieces out. And then when the grief wave comes, much like a life wave, like you're having the life waves, right? Much like when a grief wave comes, you purge that out. You can be pissed about it, Carol, son of a bitch. Here we go again, blah, blah, blah. Purge it out. And then you start to shift and you say, okay, what is this here to teach me?
Okay.
What measured progress have I had? Yes, I had a grief wave, but I am starting to know that there is no death. I am starting to know or kind of believe that my child, there's been no end. You know, you start to revisit the pieces that you have moved forward in. That way
Okay.
your brain, your ego self doesn't trick you into thinking you haven't made any progress at all.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Does
great.
does that hit for anybody else? Was anybody else able to take anything away from that?
Yes.
Good. Good. Good stuff. Measured progress is a big one, guys, especially in the grief stuff, man, because I remember thinking every time I felt, because especially in the grief, it's a dance, right? You go 2 steps forward, 55 steps back, and then you go 1 step forward and 800 steps back, and it's just like, and you're exhausted. And so measured progress was a huge thing for me, a huge thing for me. And it was a friend of mine, a guy back home when I was back home in my hometown. His son ended up passing, is a guy I went to high school with, and his son ended up leaving body shortly after leave. And so he was really good about like getting me out of the house, and I was really good about getting him out of his head. But we had to go work a food truck one day, and we were both sitting in, he had a food truck, and we were both sitting in the food truck this day, we're both just bawling, and we're both like, this sucks, you know, we're doing the thing, it never gets any better, we're both doomed for the rest of our lives, blah 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 blah, just pain feeding each other like nobody's business, right? And then he actually had like a moment of clarity, and he said, you know, Nikki, we have to stop and realize that we've had measured progress. We're both out here in this food truck, you know, we're not both laying in bed today, like we're out in the world. And so that was our catchphrase from each other, for each other, like for a very long time after that. It was like measure progress, measure progress. And I stole it from him, and and I use it in my coaching now, because it became such an integral part of my dance. My grief dance was making sure that I looked at where I started on the day of the shattering versus where I was at any given point with any tool I had used after that. So, and you can use that in life too, Caroline. Obviously, you have to, you have to. You know, I use it now. Kat's very good at helping me use it now. You know, when I work on financial blocks a lot, and abundance blocks, and I'll get scared financially, and Kat will remind me, because Leaf sent me to Florida. And when we came to Florida, when we finally got our first apartment down here, we came to Florida with very little money. And when we finally moved into our first apartment, we literally had $5 left. And so when I really start freaking out and get in my ego about my finances here, Kat will look at me and she'll say, $5, Nikki. $5. And I'm like, that's right, $5. And that is her checkpoint for me for my measured progress. $5. You're right. I can do this. Universe has my back. I trust, I surrender. It's all is well. All is good. All is well. And I can surrender at that point, and I can get back into flow. So it's good to have a checkpoint. It's good to have a checkpoint word to kind of pop you back into, oh yeah, that's not where I'm at anymore. That's not where I'm at. Whether it be like, guys, I didn't eat for 8 months. I didn't shower for a very long time. So maybe your word is like, oh yeah, I showered today. Right? Or maybe it's, oh yeah, I ate today. Or maybe it's, oh yeah, I went 4 days without a grief wave. Whatever it is, have something to be your checkpoint for your measured progress.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that with this holiday. Who's feeling less trepidation, unless this is your first holiday? Who's feeling less trepidation with Christmas being so close this holiday than the last holiday? Raise your physical hand. Okay, so that's a checkpoint for you. That's measured progress right there, right? And I know it's very scary to be able to say, it is easier this year, but I want you to be able to have the courage to be able to say, this year it's easier. And then you can follow it up with, this year it's easier because I'm getting to know my child in spirit, because there is no death. So, because that ego self wants to kind of cringe when you say it. Oh, that doesn't feel good to say this year's easier, because your ego self says, oh, you're saying this year is easier and your kid is dead. No, you're not. You're saying this year is easier because you know your kid is not dead,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Who else?
I'm kind of in the same place as Caroline, but it's like I read, how you picked up and moved and did all, and that's kind of what I want to do, but finding that nerve to do it, and it's just my life, I just feel like it's miserable because I can't, and I'm not a patient person anyway, so I know that I need to work towards that goal as opposed to just going, oh, I'm gonna quit my job, move 2 hours away, live closer to my grandkids and my son, but that's a big step, and that's, I'm not at the
It is
point
a
of being
big
able to
step.
retire. I'm working on that, but
It is a
So-
big step. And I will tell you, most people are not like me, because when I jump, I go all in. And
yeah, well,
at the point that I was at, it was like, if I had worked so hard on my healing
mhm,
that if I stayed where I was, because I was back in my hometown,
mhm,
which is a very toxic place,
mhm,
if I stayed where I was, all the healing that I had done was going to be in vain, because it was like the place was literally suffocating me, right? And I
mhm,
had to fit into a role there, and I had become this different person, and I was so out of alignment with it that it
yeah,
was like just shit after shit after shit, and it was like the
mhm,
universe going smack smack, like, get that, like, I'm
yeah.
gonna make you super uncomfortable until you
Until you
listen,
just do
Nikki,
it, yeah,
until I just do
mhm,
it. And so I actually finally asked Leaf, and I said, if you're telling me to move to Tampa, you need to like be in your face. And I walked inside and looked at the TV, and it said Tampa Bay. And I looked at Tom and I said, we're moving to Florida. And we did.
wow.
We moved down here with $2,000, a broken down car, knowing nobody. Our car didn't even have air conditioning, dude.
Yeah, oh wow.
No jobs. We knew no.
Mhm,
And it was like, for me, it was like, fuck it, the worst has already happened.
yeah,
What else could go wrong? And
right,
so I was still very new. I was just past, like, literally a month past 2 years. So it was really, I was still
mhm,
in that like,
mhm.
fuck it phase. Like,
Yeah,
what's the worst that can happen?
right.
So, um,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, it's the bravest thing that I've ever done in my life.
yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm not that brave.
it took a lot of surrender, and it took a lot of me being talked off the edge. You can ask Kathy Elliott. I mean, we were down here. There was at one point we were down here, and I have lived a very sheltered life because I'm from a very small town in Southwest
Mhm,
Missouri. Like, I knew all the people, and um, we ended up having to stay in a place down here in the city where it was like a little motel that I had only seen on the likes of like Law and Order, child prostitutes,
Oh, Lord.
gangbangers. And
Mhm.
like at that point, like, I was having to be talked off the ledge. You can ask Kathy Elliott. I was like, I swear to God, if you don't find me an apartment like in the next 3 days, I'm going home, because I'm scared. Like,
Mhm.
I'm
Right.
scared. We have this much money to get an apartment. Like, I'm freaking scared, man. you know, and they
Found it.
dropped an apartment in our lap. So
Mhm.
it took a lot of trust and a lot of surrender. You know, so, but what I would say to you, Rita, is like, here's the deal, guys. Find a way to live your best life. It will
Mhm.
fall into alignment. It will fall into place. The responsibilities that tie you back, those will come around and be taken care of. You will be taken care of. It's terrifying, I know,
Mhm.
but the worst has already happened.
Right.
The
Right.
worst has already happened.
Mhm.
So, and once you get really hardcore in your truth, like for me, it was, I couldn't, if I was going to stay on this earth,
Mhm.
I couldn't stay in a state of being miserable where I was. I
Yeah.
had to go where I could maybe thrive. I didn't even know if that was possible at that point, but I had to give myself a fighting chance for it.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, I felt like Leaf, at that point, I felt like Leaf would have died in vain.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yeah, this is
That's
I
kind
mean,
of how I feel.
I give Kathy this, like, poor Kathy, she gets this lecture like every day of her life right now, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think this is something that a lot of people go through
Mhm.
because you do this, I look at this as a gift for us to step into our best
Mhm.
life. And a lot of times I don't even think that most of us have just moved through life. I know I did, and we've settled into a status quo of just letting our life happen.
Mhm.
Right. Like for me, like
Yes.
I got
Yes.
pregnant, I got married, I bought the house, I did the things.
Right.
It
Yeah.
just
It just goes.
it
Yeah.
just goes.
Uh-huh.
And so it was really the first time in my life that I took a deliberate risk,
Mhm. Mhm.
not knowing, and I made a decision, and it was
Yeah.
like I just let
Yeah.
the fucking chips fall where they may,
Mhm.
because I
Mhm.
just went through the worst hell that I've ever been through.
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
I'm
I
scared of
mean,
that, how much worse can it get though? It's like, it's like, well, I don't want to say out loud, well, I've been through the worst, because then I feel like something else horrible might happen.
but you have been through the worst.
I have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And on the scale of fabulous to fucking sucks,
Yeah.
nothing fucking sucks worse than losing your kid.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And I say that as somebody sitting here who found my husband dead on our couch
Yeah.
in
Right.
September. And yes, I grieve for him. He was my person.
Yeah.
But the pain of
There's
losing
nothing worse.
him
Yeah.
fucking paled in comparison
Yeah.
to losing
I
Sophie.
know. Yeah.
I mean, I was sad. I'm sad that he's
Mhm.
gone. I'm sad that I don't get to see him every day.
Right. Right. But yeah, I know.
But if I could have traded you for Sophie in a heartbeat,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
nothing for
understand that.
me. And
Yeah.
Nikki's not wrong, because she does give me this speech every day, because I
Mhm.
am in very much the same position, Rita. I'm sitting
Mhm.
here in a city where literally the only friend I have is the person that I work with,
Uh-huh.
and I see her at work. I
Mhm.
don't have any family within 2 hours of me.
Yeah. Oh,
I
that's
have nobody living in my house with me anymore.
Yeah.
And yet I'm in a job that I don't like anymore, that I've been with
Mhm.
for 12 years.
Mhm.
I know I don't want to be here, but
Mhm.
I can't yet fully surrender to saying fuck it and going somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
hard. It's a
Right.
hard
It
decision
really
to make.
is. It
And
is.
It is hard.
especially if you're a control freak like me, because I need to know that I have X dollars coming
Me
in on
too.
X day so I can
Yes.
pay my bills.
Yes. I've always been self-sufficient. I've always paid my bills and not relied on somebody to help me with that. And it's like, I can't. And I have a good job, which is a blessing and a curse, because I
Yep.
hate the job, but it's a
Yep.
good job. So
Yep.
it's like, I can't just go, oh, there's people lined up that would give anything for this job. And and I'm like, it sucks. I hate it so much. It's like torture to have to get up and go there every day. You
Well,
know,
it's
so-
that, it's that quintessential thing that you see all these like millionaire CEOs that happen
Yeah.
with them, right? They
Right.
have these super high powered, high paying jobs. And one day they get up and they're like, fuck this. And they
Yeah.
walk out and then they
Right.
end up going to like an ashram or like high
Yeah.
backpacking the Himalaya. Like that's
Yeah.
what happens to them. They
Right.
finally, they have this epiphany where they're like, none of this means
Yeah.
anything. And they get up
Exactly.
and they walk out.
Yeah.
So I think it's something for us, it's the catalyst is obviously our children leaving their bodies, and
Right.
that
Mhm.
is part of the gift though,
Yeah.
because it very much can be a catalyst for
Mhm.
us being able to step into living life the way that we want to live it.
Right.
And I can tell you, Rita, like even having done that, my life still gets very mundane and very I
Oh, yeah.
get very
Well, yeah.
complacent in it still, right?
Of
I
course.
still have to
Yeah.
work at not being so human at things.
Oh,
It's
right.
like, oh God, I have to drive 15 minutes to the beach. And I'm like, bitch, are you kidding me? You used to live 27 hours from it. Like,
Yeah.
do you hear yourself?
Yeah.
And it's like, get your shit together, Nikki. So you still have to work even when you're in your best life, not to become that icky poo human, but you have to work less at it.
Right.
So,
Right.
it's just, Kathy nailed it. This is about stepping into not being in control and trusting the universe and
Mhm.
trusting flow to take care
That's
of
a
you
big leap.
financially. It is a big
Yeah.
leap. I will tell you, it
Mhm.
is the scariest thing I've ever
Mhm.
done. But again, for me, I went back to
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
I mean, they would
Right.
take my
Yeah.
house, take my car, take all the shit, because
Yeah.
none of that,
Nothing
like
means anything if you take
everything
a photo.
else,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Right. Right.
yep.
But I have
So
another child and you have another child. So that's
I
why
do.
that's why I mean that it scares me to say that because it's like,
I
you
do.
know,
And
yeah.
but so here
And my
was something,
grandchildren.
and here was something for me is that so for me there, before that happened, I had to sit with the trigger of the possibility that my second child would leave before me.
Mhm.
Because for those of us that have surviving children,
Mhm.
there's a very real fear there that this could happen again.
Yeah.
For those of you that have surviving children, I will tell you, this is an extremely hard trigger to walk through, but it
Mhm.
is one that I did walk through. I sat down and I walked myself through that scenario several times, what
Mhm.
that would look like. Um, uh, it's not a pretty scenario. I do know my truth though.
Mhm.
And quite honestly, Omri has said that she hopes that she does go before me because she does not want to walk the earth without me.
Mhm.
And so I've looked at what that looks like too.
Mhm.
So it's a good idea to sit and walk through that. When we did come to Florida, Omri was going to come with us. We were going to Florida 2 weeks before we came. Like it was that quick. Like it was like,
Yeah.
we're going. And
Right.
we,
Right.
had just rebuilt our life. We sold what little we had. We packed the car, we packed the dogs, and we came. So
Mhm.
a week before that, Omri decided she did not want to leave. So I ended up leaving my only surviving child in
Mhm.
Missouri with her extremely abusive father, who's a total
Oh.
dick. So when I came here, I had a lot of guilt because I
Mhm.
actually felt like I had abandoned my only surviving child.
Mhm.
And so when I got here, I did feel like both my kids had died.
Mhm.
She came, we got here in October. She ended up coming in February,
Mhm.
the next February. So
Mhm.
those are things that you do have to look at. If you guys have fear about
Mhm.
your surviving kids or your grandkids
Mhm.
leaving body before you, it's a trigger that you need to look at and you need
Yeah.
to work through it.
Yeah.
Would I be devastated? Absolutely I would.
Mhm.
I would find her within the
Right.
first day though.
Right. Right. Right.
it would look different because I do know my truth. So I would immediately go to find her instead of it taking me 8 months to find her.
Mhm.
It took me, it took me 8 months to get super solid and knowing that I found Leaf. I would
Yeah.
immediately go and find Omri.
Right,
It would
right.
be the first thing that I did.
Yes.
I would do it before any preparations were made. I would do it before any arrangements were made. I would sit down and I would find her right, and I would connect with her right then and there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it would look vastly different because I would make sure that I would find her immediately. Whereas I wasn't able to do that with Leaf. He was out,
Right.
doing whatever the hell he was doing, partying it up.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Yeah.
Omri would be my first and foremost priority. So you need to
Yeah.
get an idea of what that does look like for you, because guys, you don't know what you got in your soul contract, and the
Right.
possibility is there.
Right.
Possibility is there.
Mhm.
So, and I do take comfort in knowing that if Omri does leave body before me, that I have the knowledge to be able
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
immediately sit down and find her,
Mhm.
right? To
Yeah.
immediately get her availability to me in that moment.
Mhm.
I don't have to wait. Does it mean that I'm not going to grieve her? Absolutely not. I would
Right.
obviously still grieve her physical
Obviously, yeah.
presence. Yeah,
Right.
but I wouldn't have to not know where the fuck she's at. I wouldn't have to know, pardon
Yeah.
my French.
No, it's fine.
Sorry, not sorry, but I wouldn't have to wait. I wouldn't have it would be different because I wouldn't have to wonder where she's at. I wouldn't have to wonder if she's okay. Because I would connect with her and I would immediately know all of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
So if you struggle with those thoughts, this is something you guys do need to sit down and get into with yourselves for real. And you need to arm yourself with your truth about it and what that looks like.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
How does that differ from the law of attraction with Abraham Hicks teaching? Because if you're bringing on, like, putting energy into what you're thinking of.
No, two completely different things. And I'm going to tell you how I know this, Sharon.
Okay.
I started studying, actually Leaf and I started studying law of attraction about 6 months before he left body. This is funny because this is how my whole actual journey started with Leaf. So we started studying law of attraction. So I was in all the Abe groups. He and I and Tom were practicing manifesting. Omri was living in Missouri with her dad, but even when she would come to South Dakota and stay with us, I was doing chanting, we were doing light code numbers, we were doing all kinds of manifesting stuff. So when Leaf died, I was pissed. I was pissed at law of attraction. I was pissed at Abraham Hicks. So I went into my Abe Hicks groups and I said, and it's going to get nasty here real quick, guys. I said, listen here, motherfuckers. My kid just died. I want you to tell me about this law of attraction and how the fuck I just manifested. I mean, venom. I'm talking pure venom out of my mouth, right? I'm just keyboard troll, like he's spewing this. And this lady messages me. Well, this lady commented and she said, you're missing a very important piece. And me being pissed and in deep grief, I'm like, oh, am I? Why don't you tell me what important piece I'm missing? Blah, blah, blah. And she said, I'm going to message you. And I said, okay. So she messages me and she says, you are missing a very important piece. Have you ever listened to the Abraham Hicks death lectures? And I said, no, I don't even know what you're talking about. And she said, this is a completely different part that is completely separate from manifesting. The energy of manifesting is completely different law of attraction. That's a completely separate energetic universal truth than the universal truth of physical death. She said it's two entirely different teachings, and you are missing huge pieces of it. So she sent me these links for these 10 different death lectures. Well, this was very early on, so I kind of put it out of my head. I'm still pissed off. Fast forward to 3 months later, I'm sitting on a bed. I have all of these theology teachings out. I have the Bible out. I have Deepak Chopra books. I have all these different books out, and I'm really kind of manic, and I'm like chain smoking, and I'm flipping through these books, flipping through these books, flipping through these books, and I'm looking for answers. I'm getting no answers. I don't even know what questions I'm asking. And I have a moment of clarity in this mania, these Abraham Hicks death lectures. Okay. And so I go back on my phone and I pull them up. And I listened to this first lecture, and you can't even listen to this lecture online anymore because they've taken it down since then. But it's called Abraham Hicks and Death in a Positive Context. And I listened to it. And when I listen to it now, if I were able to go back, I listen to this lecture so much, Sharon, I can actually recite it verbatim when I listen to it. And it lifted 10,000 pounds off me because it put this huge piece of the puzzle in that I was missing. Law of attraction and manifesting has absolutely nothing to do with the energy of physical death. They're completely two separate things. They're two separate energies. They're two separate teachings. They're not even connected in any way, shape, or form. And it's a great question. I've had hundreds of parents ask me the same thing that have been Abe students, because these death lectures are, Abe's known, Esther's known, and Jerry are known for law of attraction, for manifesting, for that. It's very rare that people ask them about physical death, right? So Kathy and I actually do an entire class. How many of you have taken the Abe Hicks death lectures class here? Caroline has, Angie has. It's an amazing class because we literally focus just on the Abraham Hicks death lectures and what the Abraham energies say about physical death. They talk about soul contracts. They talk about reincarnation. They talk about all of it. They talk about all the teachings that you hear all the other spiritual beings talk about it. They talk about a lot about what Basher talks about, what you hear Robert Schwartz talk. I mean, it's in their verbiage, of course, right?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it's a great question because I was the same way. I was like, oh, are you telling me? Like I said, I had never thought about this in my whole life. So how did I manifest that? And they were like, two different universal truths there.
But they do talk about that you can manifest illness.
You can manifest illness, but if you pass from an illness, then that was already in your soul contract. They're overlapping things within it, but you never ever manifest death. You never manifest death. Physical death is always pre-written in through a soul contract. So you have missing pieces. There's more information out there that you need.
Okay.
So you have great information about law of attraction, manifesting. And I did too, even though it's super hard to wrap your head around and get into alignment and on the high flying disc and all of the things, right? But I had the exact same question because I was furious. But then I started studying the death lectures. And then after that, I started studying the ego self, not through Abraham. Then after that, like there's so many pieces that you have to get from so many different teachings, and then you have to combine them in for your own personal truth. This is why I tell you guys, like, study so much different stuff and pull out the pieces that resonate with you to make your personal truth. Like, there are parts of the Bible that really resonate with me. There are parts that really don't resonate with me, but there are parts that really resonate with me that are pieces of my personal truth. But there are parts that don't. There are parts of Abraham Hicks that really resonate with me. There are parts that don't. There are parts with Robert Schwartz that really resonate with me. There are parts that don't. There are parts with Basher that really resonate with me. There are parts that don't. There are parts with Lipton and Braden and even Teal Swan. There are parts with, I mean, so many spiritual teachers out there that parts of it resonate with me and parts of it don't. So you have to get really good. Even what I spew at y'all with my personal truth, there are probably pieces that you're like, okay, that hits for me, and pieces that you're like, is she crazy? That's fine. If you are taking, I mean, and like Kathy and I are in alignment for the most part on our truth. Right, right. I mean, I think you can if you don't have an exit point written in, Becky, but the bottom line is like, I think you can leave if you don't have the exit point written in, but then comes the point of, are you allowed to leave or not? Right? So maybe they're like, okay, that one wasn't written in, but are we going to allow them to leave or are we not going to allow them to leave? Or maybe it's a choice. So do you want to stay? Do you want to go back? Right? So who knows? That's the infinite possibility piece. But the
Okay.
bottom line is nobody gets to leave the body unless they're supposed to in that moment.
Can I
right?
back it up a little bit further?
Of course.
Okay, so my daughter left her body from cancer.
Okay.
And it was not an easy cancer at all.
Absolutely not.
So what's the point of going through 5 years of that to leave your
Okay.
body?
So what you have to look at here, Sharon, and I've worked with a lot of cancer parents, I will tell you. Antoinette has heard me talk about this a lot, haven't you, sister? When we're talking about cancer or prolonged terminal illness, we're talking about why would she sign up for that and why would you sign up for that? Every single solitary bit of struggle, be it physical, mental, emotional, every single bit of that we sign up for because we will grow through it somehow. So what you have to do, Sharon, is you have to sit and you have to be able to, you have to, number one, look past your earth eyes, right? You have to be able to look past the pain that she was in. You have to look past all of the things, all of the earth eye stuff, and you have to look at the intrinsic stuff, okay? Did she learn resilience? Did she become a fighter?
She was before.
Okay, but I mean, she was a fighter before, but this enabled her to enact that. I mean, it had to have amped it up, I would think.
You know, I'd really have to sit with that one a little bit. I don't know what she
Yeah,
really learned
yeah,
from
it's
that.
this isn't anything
And
you're going to be
you
able to
have
go
to
this,
also,
this,
you
this.
have to also accept, Sharon, what she went through may not have been for her soul growth. It may have been for your soul growth.
Right, I know.
It could have been. I am of the belief that it's always for both, but it could have definitely been more for yours. But like, Debbie's not in here tonight. Debbie and I have, and I don't think she would mind me using her as an example. Debbie and I have talked about this with Isaac a lot, and Debbie has had to really sit down and get into this with Isaac's cancer journey a lot. And this is one, Sharon, that is going to take a lot of really in-depth stuff. That may, I don't know if that's, is that Debbie Johnson? Let me see if this is Debbie, because Debbie Johnson, is that you? Huh. I'm
It is
literally,
me.
Isaac literally just popped you on because I'm literally just using you and Isaac as an example of stuff that you and I have worked on. So Sharon and I are just talking about the cancer journey with kids and why they would sign up to do this in this life. And I said, I don't think Debbie and Isaac would mind me using them as an example because this
No.
is something Debbie and Isaac have worked on and we have worked on and we have worked on and we have worked on, and you've really dove into this so much. And I was telling Sharon that this is literally something that like you have really had to like get your claws into, man, and really dive into that to really start to deconstruct it, right? You've been working on that for like 2 years.
Oh my
So-
goodness. On a regular
Yeah.
basis.
On a regular basis. And so what I was telling her is that some of the things, like, can you tell her some of the things that we kind of had to pull out when we started working with that with you and Isaac? Like, okay, I mean, because I remember a few of them, but like some of the things we really had to see, like it brought out the fighter in him. It brought out like that he was always, he was like in a cheerful place, and he was the showing strength to you guys, and the things that it was bringing out for him. You know what I mean? That we were seeing that he was growing through with it. Can you share that with Sharon, some of the things that in your discovery of why he would have signed up for that for him and for you? Like how
Yes.
some of the spiritual things you've discovered for the growth for you guys?
Yeah, so he's kind of talked to me about like like this is something he wanted to do. He wanted to come in and experience this. Why, I don't know, but for more soul growth, a bigger soul development. It wasn't nothing to do like, you know, because of that religious part. I'm like, oh, it's all me. And must be because I'm this horrible person. And he's like, no, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with my soul growth. And now he likes it because now he helps other kiddos that are going through the cancer journey. So he helps kiddos that are going through it. And I guess he also helps kiddos that are thinking about coming in to have that experience about like, that's a really hard journey, but you get this through. And then he kind of has talked to me about not taking, because obviously there's a lot of guilt around this. And he's always telling me, don't confuse our journeys, that it's not supposed to be guilt. It's not supposed to be, I'm supposed to hold this pain in. I'm taking on his journey, and that's not what it's about. It's about, he also did this for me to grow and develop and to learn myself. So, and kind of the same thing too with you, Nikki, is he talked about like, you know, we've done this another time and I left early and he stayed, and now it's my time and he's here to help me to develop and learn the strength that he did. So, but that's been a lot of it is like that guilt and why would he do that? But there's so much he gained out of that strength, and that something he would never have learned had he not gone through that. And that's hard, you know, and he doesn't feel like, you know, he's thankful for that time he had here, and he doesn't look at it like, oh, I'm missing out or I left too early. He kind of look at it as, you know, I did everything I wanted to do. I touched the lives that I touched. I loved the people I love, and I just wanted that love from you, you know, and when he got what he needed, it was time to go.
And it can even be something, Sharon, along the lines of maybe she came in, maybe Isaac came in, maybe Massimo came in the cancer experience, because maybe it was to contribute to medical science in the way that they needed to for their medical team. Even like
Yeah.
there could be so many reasons that they came in with that experience, with the ripples that they had through that
Yeah.
experience, that
And
it has to do with you, it has to do with the medical team, it has to do with science of that, you know, time, it has to do with their own soul growth, their own, it may even have to do with like the regeneration of their own physical body. It may have to do, you know, so many infinite possibilities. So you have to really step outside of your earth eyes and think about like this huge, big, broad perspective to kind of get an idea of why she would come in. And like what Debbie does with Isaac, you can ask her, like automatic writing with her, ask her, so you can start to get some of those pieces and understand it. And for Debbie, that's been so healing, because that journey was so painful for her that it was really hard for her to be able to get past that, to connect with Isaac. But now that she has understanding of that, that pain is less for her now.
And one of the things too is that, you know, his primary doctor was very, let's just say she wasn't a nice person. And she, so I had a lot of anger towards her, and she didn't always treat him very friendly. And I had a lot of anger, and he said, Mama, don't be mad at her, because she learned a lot during my journey. And even though she knows she made mistakes with me, she's going to learn those mistakes moving forward with the other kiddos that she's going to help. So, you know, she learned from me, from the mistakes that she made from me. So, and then also a lot of times when kiddos go through cancer journey, they're put in like, you know, they take a lot of like swabs and tests. So to learn from his cancer, because it was so advanced and he had so much going against him. So he said those tests that kiddos take now kind of are going to help other kiddos in the future. So,
Yeah.
So it was, you know, that I was upset about the journey ending, but his, you know, the kiddos that come in are also helping the kiddos in the future as well. So.
Because I mean, every single one of our kids, regardless of what their journey was, there are ripples for humanity as well. So like Kids with mental health stuff, that has ripples in humanity. Kids with cancer, that has ripples in humanity. Even on small scales, on big scales. So that's part of their soul contracts. It's where you're at right now, Sharon, is part of why you guys signed up. Even being in this program, asking these questions, that's part of it too. Talking to Debbie, that's part of it too. Like from the little bitty minuscule things to like the big things, there's so much that we have to really be willing to open up to look at literally everything, because that's where things will start to make sense. You have to be careful not to rabbit hole and let it crazy make you, because it can, but it'll start to make sense. And if you'll take those things and start writing it down, like one of the assignments that we do in one of the classes, I think it's the shifting death class, isn't it, guys? I'm not sure, but we'll sit down and we'll think about like, what are the actual, why would they sign up for this contract? Why would I sign up for this contract? What gifts have been given, right? So like for me with Leaf, some of the gifts that had been given were like the people that I've met, obviously, right? The fact that I do live in Florida when I'd only been to the ocean twice, right? The fact that, Kathy is one of my best friends and I would have never, ever had met her. And we're like soul sisters. Same with Kat. The fact that, just so many things. So me doing what I do, even the fact that Healing Warrior Parents exists, right? Like all of these ripples, big, small, whatever. So you start to look at, Sharon, even you doing the art class with us in the holiday program this year, like that is part of why it was written in. Like that was super healing for all of these people in here, that is a ripple. So you start to look, and that was a gift to all of us. So you start to sit down and you look at the gifts that this has provided, not just in your life, but the ripples that it's provided for other people. And then you start to get a picture of why this would have been signed up for. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
I'm curious about something else. Everybody that
Yeah.
said that they were unhappy with their jobs, were you unhappy before your child left their body? Or are you unhappy with the job now, after?
Yes, I was unhappy before, but more so now.
Okay.
Mhm. Now I just want to be closer to my other son, and he's 2 hours from me. It's not that he's that far, but it's just like, I just want to be able to be there, all the time, not just on a weekend every now and then,
For those of you that are feeling the itch that you're not where you're supposed to be, but you can't jump off the high dive. Okay. It's okay that you can't jump off the high dive. What I want you guys to do is start, and this is to be careful what you wish for. Okay. But start doing, I posted that cord cutting mantra
Yeah.
today. Did you see that? Start doing that one. That is a powerful one. I'm going to tell you, when I have cord cut with the mantra of take everything that no longer resonates with me and clear it out of my life, get ready for a fucking whirlwind sometimes, because you're like, oh shit, that friend just bit the damn dust. That all right, bye. Like I was like, and it was like whoosh. Another thing you can do is universe clear. I kept just saying, universe clear the path, universe clear the path, take me to the highest place, take me where I'm supposed to be, universe clear the path, do what you're supposed to do, I trust, I surrender. And like I would just keep saying it, and it was like, okay, well, and when it starts doing it, Rita, and shit seems like it's going south,
hold on.
hold on, and just be like, okay, thank you, clear it out of my way, okay, thank you, clear. Like if you get fired, just be like, okay, thank you,
That
universe,
was meant to happen.
because what's meant for you will not pass you by.
Right.
And it's hard, it's so hard. But here's the deal, that one of the things that I had to harness for that, and boy, it's a hard one, boy howdy, and I still have to do it sometimes, is like, it can be terrifying,
Mhm.
There's a fine line between exciting and adventurous and absolutely fucking terrifying,
Mhm.
right? So I just kept having to say, okay, we're on a big adventure. And then I'd be like, oh my God, I'm so fucking terrified. This is horrible. And then I'd be like, okay, it's all right. This is just an adventure. It's just an adventure. And then I'd say, universe, clear the path, universe, clear the path. And ask your kiddo for help and just say, I know you're guiding this. I know whatever's happening is for my highest good and my best life. And I'm just going to trust. 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 Trust your kids. Trust your kids. It's terrifying. Rebecca's been through this. You struggled with the job thing last year, didn't you?
Well, I'm still there.
Rebecca's
But
just like, yeah.
I don't hate my job. I like it. Before I worked for I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters for 12 years. And so I took the job with our school district, and I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to retire. Everything's great. And then after Joseph's passing, I feel like I'm supposed to be somewhere else. But like, I don't hate my job. I don't feel I'm supposed to be there. And that's,
Mhm.
You guys gotta ask. And that's the thing. Because we have free will, guys, it's not just like, oh, do with me what you will. Because we have free will, you have to ask. You have to say, archangels, come in and get rid of what's not supposed to be here.
Mhm.
Archangels, plop down in front of me what is supposed to be here. Here's the kicker, though. Then you have to be brave enough to step into it,
yeah.
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Angie Hop knows this. She just did this, literally just did it.
That's what
Just had
happened
a-
to me. I hated
Yep.
it. Was so sick of that job after 20 years, 365 days a year. And
Mhm.
And
I-
she was terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Terrified.
now I love it. Love it as a school social worker. Yeah.
She took a different job. It was terrifying. And I mean, it was, I hope you don't mind me saying this, it was a pay cut, but universe provides.
Mhm.
Yep.
When you are where you're supposed to be, the universe will pick up the slack, you guys, and it will provide for you, and it will make sure that the responsibilities that you have are taken care of, and it will get rid of the ones that you're not supposed to be taking care of anyway.
Mhm.
Okay, but you
Okay.
have to relinquish control, and you have to ask for help, because it's funny, because I say it's kind of like a vampire, which is it's a horrible metaphor for it, because they're so not vampires. But you know how in the movies, like, a vampire can't come into your house unless you invite them into your house.
Mhm.
Archangels can't step in to help you unless you ask them to help you, because you
Mhm.
have free will. And so you have to say, Archangel Michael, step in, Archangel Raphael, step in, Archangel whoever, step in. And you guys are going to get more familiar with the archangels, because Caroline in the next few days is going to start doing a post about the different archangels.
Oh, good.
She's going to start with Azrael, which is he's my what just happened? Can you see me?
Mhm.
Where did
Yes.
everybody go? What happened? Where
We
did
can
my
see-
camera go? You can see me?
I see you.
I can't see you guys. What the hell? Gabby, where'd my camera go?
How the hell am I supposed to know?
I touched it on
Oh,
accident.
no.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it. I had to wipe a dog hair off my screen, and then it went white. So yeah, you guys have to ask. And so with Caroline's post, you guys can read up and you can just feel into which one you're drawn to. I work with Azrael because he's the archangel of death. And it was brought to my attention that that's who I'm supposed to work through, which is a very crazy story. And actually has to do with the destiny cards many years ago when I was pregnant with Leaf. Which is a fun story that I'll tell you guys sometime, but it's kind of long, so I'll save it for another time. but she's going to start doing a post about archangels. Archangel Michael is a great go-to guy. That's why we also call on him. That's who Kathy and I both learned to work with initially when we were learning to connect with our kids. He's the go-to guy. So ask for help with these things. Ask to be shown where you're supposed to be, but because you have free will, even when you're shown, you have to have the guts to step into it. You have to. If I had been shown Tampa Bay across that big, huge television and I had said, and I said, I'm too scared, I can't do it, then I would still be miserable in Southwest Missouri,
Right.
where it's probably 12 degrees right now.
Ugh.
And pro tip, if you do decide to jump into it, don't tell your family that you're doing XYZ because your dead kid told you to, because they don't usually take
Yeah.
that very well.
I'd say not.
I told mine and then they didn't take it well, and I promptly set boundaries and cut them all off for 2 years. So because I jumped off the deep end and went all in. So, you know, but most people don't do that,
Right.
you know. But I know myself well enough that at that point it was like, do or die, bitches, kamikaze. So thank God, right? Or we wouldn't be here right now.
Right.
So good stuff. Is this resonating for all of you in some way? Good. Isn't it funny how even like, and you guys are gonna find this, like and those of you that have worked with Kathy, and I know this, but like everything that applies to the grief journey, you can actually take and then use it in the context of your life journey too. That's one of the major gifts, is that you learn all these tools and all these things and these nuanced stuff through the grief journey, and then you take them and apply them to the context of the life journey. And it's kind of like a roadmap, you know. It's kind of like, oh shit, I finally had a roadmap at, 38 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, who else? And good stuff. Sharon, thank you for your questions. I love that question. I haven't had it in so long, and it's such an absolutely wonderful question because it was pivotal at the start of my journey. I was just like you, and it is just such an important question for people who have a spiritual background, even a little bit of one that have studied law of attraction, because it's a piece that's so overlooked. So thank you for that question.
You know, it's interesting though, I'm nowhere near the beginning of my journey, and I've done a ton of stuff
Okay.
in this time, but it's almost 7 years for me.
That's okay. You know what? Here's the deal though. The start of the healing journey doesn't always mean it's the start of the grief journey, right? So it can be 7 years for you, but maybe your healing journey is only 3 years, right? So, or maybe your shattering was 7 years ago and your healing has been slower. It doesn't matter, because it's all divinely timed. So you're right where you're supposed to be at any given time. As long as you're making forward momentum, that's okay. That's okay. So don't ever get down on yourself for where you're at. You know, as long as you're still asking questions and still doing some work towards it, then you're always moving forward, and that's what counts. Okay?
Makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who else?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, it's good to
Hi.
see your face.
Yes, I've been kind of quiet, but really great discussions happening. I just I had a question about like life and purpose. Like I still try to figure out what was Massimo's life purpose. What was he here to? What was he here to teach, or was he here to learn? I don't know what his purpose. I mean, I have ideas, but how do we really know, like even with ourselves, like what is our purpose?
So for me, and I'm going to say this to all of you right now, for those of you how many of you here really 100% knew that there was life after death? Like absolutely 100% knew before your child left body. Like not had an inkling, like knew it so much that when your child left body, you were like, okay, they left body, but I know they're okay. Did any of you have a knowing to that degree? Okay, so one of the kids' main purposes in leaving body before us this time was so that we could come into the remembering that there is no death very quickly after they left body. So that is one main thing, Antoinetta, that Massimo had a purpose in. It was so that he could drive home to you very quickly your remembering and your knowing, because you already had it, right? You already had it, so we're remembering it. That he is not dead, he is not gone. That is the number one purpose, okay? Of all of them, cut, dry, period. Every single time we do this, because when we come in, we get wiped, earth amnesia, whoosh, right? We may have a small inkling, right, Caroline? We might remember maybe a little bit, kind of, sort of, but then we get socially programmed and we get the earth amnesia and all of the things. But so then our people leave their body and we go on this quest, and then we get our remembering back, right? With a lot of damn work. So that's his number one, Antoinetta. But like we were talking about with Sharon and Debbie before, we have to kind of search deeper. So Massimo also had terminal illness, correct? Very young age. So it's kind of the same thing. You can look at what they are having to look at. It could have been things like medical research, things that his medical team learned, strength and resilience of his own personal self, right? Things that you saw in him kind of come alive through his own medical journey, ways that his own spirit, his own soul would have grown, ripples that he's had since then with you, with his brother, with his dad, any and all things that you've seen transpire because he was sick and because he left body, or even because he was born. Okay.
Yes. I know, he's always, even through his cancer journey when he was here, everyone would always comment how strong, how brave he was in physical, and even now, when there's a hard time or something somebody's going through, they always remember Massimo's struggle of his cancer, and they always say, I can't believe how that little boy just showed such bravery. He gives
that's
even me
inspiring.
strength. Mhm.
Yeah, that's inspiring strength and hope in humanity. That's huge purpose. That's huge purpose. So when you ask yourself what his purpose was, like that one's blatant right there in your face. People are still saying that to you. So that is him saying, bam, mom, my purpose, right? When it comes to your purpose, guys, your purpose doesn't have to be this huge, profound, awe-inspiring, change-making, shift of the whole entire planet thing. Most of us don't have that, right? Most of us don't have that. Bigger purpose comes in the details. Angie has a purpose every day with every single little kid she sits with in her office doing 4 breaths and 5 senses grounding that's going through a terrible time in their home life. She has what seems to be throughout the whole entire planet would seem to be very small, but on a very day, every single solitary day she's at work, she works with at least one child that this is causing ripples throughout their life, which is not just ripples throughout their life. It then causes ripples throughout the children that they eventually have's life, which causes ripples throughout the children that they eventually has life. So it's generational shifts, generational ripples. That is big purpose. It's kind of cliche, but it's no different than if Lee walks to the grocery store and the clerk is having a shitty ass day and she's being a horrible, cranky ass bitch to everybody. And Lee extends a smile to her and says, are you okay? And it shifts that woman's day. So then that woman's vibration then extends to the next person in line, and then the next person in line, and then the next person. For that day, that was Lee's purpose. She just caused a vibrational shift in humanity because she took the time to extend a warm vibrational word and kindness to this woman who she doesn't know, who was having a bad day, 2 seconds of her time, and it just caused a shift. Any single thing that causes a shift is your purpose. Anything. With yourself, with an animal, with human beings, anything. We have been trained to think that our purpose has to be these big showcased, and I get caught up in this, right? Especially with coaching, because there are a million coaches out there. The grief community is huge. Everybody runs programs. Everybody's doing this, doing that. And I have to really keep my blinders on because I'm like, oh, you know, this person's running this program, and I can get caught up in that, right? I can get caught up in that whole, all that icky poo stuff. And so I really have to keep my blinders on and be like, you know what? Spirit brings to me who I'm supposed to work with. Those are the people that are within my vibrational match who I'm supposed to have ripples with, who then go out and have ripples with other people, right? So I have to really keep my blinders on so that I don't feel like I'm not living in my purpose. Because even doing what I do, I can feel that way. You know, in the big scheme of things, what I do with you guys is not, it's not huge. You know, I'm not rich, I'm not famous, I'm not a published author, I'm just me. So what you do in your life has big purpose, right? Antoinetta sharing tonight has big purpose. Sharon sharing tonight has big purpose. Debbie sharing tonight has big purpose. Everybody who shared tonight has big purpose because you have all affected each other. Everybody here has taken something away from something somebody else has said, right? So everybody that's engaged tonight has shared in one another's purpose. We have to stop looking at those things as small. That is huge. You guys have just changed each other's lives tonight. You've changed each other's perspectives, which means you caused a shift. That's where purpose lies. That's where purpose lies. Of course, purpose lies in when there's storm damage from a hurricane and you pack everything up and you go down and you help. Yeah, that's huge purpose in that moment and it's catastrophic, but the hugest purpose there is happens in the subtleties and the details. That's where the biggest ripples and purposeful shifts of humanity occur. Okay? That's where you go out and you live your purpose. Your purpose is lived when you step into your best life. Your purpose is lived when you work your healing every day so that you can come into thriving. Your purpose is lived when you share with people that I am doing okay. Yes, my child died and I am healing. That is purpose there because you're changing the way that humans do grief. You're changing the way that people look at you because you have a dead child. You're wiping the pity off their face and you're saying, I am healing. I will be okay because my child is beside me. That is huge purpose, ladies. So when you think you don't have purpose, go back to that, if nothing else, because we are all on the front lines of changing the way that grief is done in mainstream America. I can tell you right now, and that is fucking huge. And Australia, Lee, and Canada, Antoinetta. It's huge. You have huge purpose just by doing what you're doing, by being here, by working on your healing, by working on your connection, by inspiring each other,
Thank
by
you.
allowing your, yeah, that's big, girl. Yeah,
It is, yes.
it is. So when you're
It doesn't
down
have
in
to
it,
be big. It doesn't have
it
to be
doesn't
a
have to
big
be
thing.
big.
It's just in the little details and
It's in the details. Every
yeah.
time you show up in the big group, every time you show up in the holiday group, every time you show up to coaching, every time you show up to a friend who's reaching out to you, that is you living in your purpose. Every time you're doing self-care, every time you're working on your healing, every time you're connecting with your kid, every single time you're working from your own spirit to shift yourself or somebody else or the vibrational shift of the planet, you are living in your purpose. It doesn't have to be bigger than that, you guys. I sound like a total motivational speaker right now. I knew. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. That's a good question. Good question. Anybody else?
I'll share.
Go for it.
All right. I am very firm that there is no death. Parker, when I think of him, I have now noticed that I have shifted to not thinking of him in a physical sense, but more in the spirit sense. Parker loves Christmas. It is his favorite. It is all year round for him. This is my second Christmas without him in physical body. And I don't know if I wasn't preparing myself enough for it this year around, but I've been finding it harder than the first.
Okay.
And
When
it sucks.
what month did he pass?
April of 2021.
Okay. So you were probably likely still in shock year one, number one. So
Right.
you're still moving through that in a fog and a haze, right?
Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like the fog and the haze has come back, if that makes
Okay.
sense, the last few
Well,
weeks.
it does make sense, Becky, because number one, what's going to happen is, guys, when you're walking into trigger, this is trigger area. When you walk into trigger area, fight or flight kicks back in, nervous system kicks back up. You've got somatic stuff working on it. Rita and I touched upon this a little bit around Thanksgiving. You've got cellular memory starting. And the thing about holidays is you don't just have cellular memory starting with trauma. A lot of times you have nostalgic cellular memory starting. So you have all of these years of all of these Christmases. I mean, even if your kids were still in their body, you can still get nostalgic cellular memory happening, right? So something that we talked about last Christmas too was you have to be very aware of if you're having nostalgia happening or if you're having grief happening, okay? Especially if your Christmases look very different than what they looked before. So one thing that we do is we start to attribute everything to the kids leaving body. Oh, I'm feeling this way because the kids are left body. So you have to start to differentiate if you're feeling that way because the child is left body, or if you're feeling that way because Christmas looks different than Christmas even looked before the kid left body. Okay. So, because sometimes that can get tangled up. So I would start there. See if there's some of that going on. Some of the other stuff is because you were in such a fog last year, Becky, still in shock, you may have some of this coming up that is your body's protective mechanism now. So it's going to be up to you to shift that around. So I would start doing some things to literally intentionally raise your vibration. I would start doing some things to shift up your cellular memory so that your body knows this Christmas is different. You're not in a state of shock. Your cognitive functioning has come back. Something that happens when you're in shock, you guys, when trauma happens and it stays that way for a very long time, the cognitive functioning physically moves from the front of the brain to the back of the brain. Okay. This is what we like to call the grief fog, right? This is where we move through the mud. This is where the memory lapse happens and all the cognitive deficits and all the things. And it stays that way for a good long time. And a lot of times you actually have to retrain it to come back and start functioning again. The thing about it is once it does come back and start functioning again, it's just like anything else with the neural pathway in your brain. Things happen, environments become familiar, and that can move back, right? That's what a trigger is. Yeah, and ground. Are you grounding every day, Becky?
Yes, I've been making
Okay.
sure to ground in the morning. And I have been trying to do it more throughout the day when needed.
Good.
Yes.
Good. So, because this is going to be a big one. Stay present, stay present, stay present. Okay. So you have to be aware of where your thoughts are. And even with your thoughts being aware, that doesn't mean that even if you're present and aware, you can still feel it sounds like you feel disassociated. Are you feeling disassociated? Like out of body a little bit? I mean,
Yes.
okay. So
Yeah.
lots of grounding. Disassociation is a protective mechanism. It's much like shock. So your cognitive functioning is probably moved back because your body is used to an environment of Christmas now of disassociation. It's not safe to be in your body. It's going to be traumatic. Parker isn't here. Oh God, this sucks. I got to bounce. Right out the body she goes, right? So you're just
Right.
moving through the motions rotely. Oh, I'm going to hang the garland here. And you're not really even there. You're just, oh, a stocking, oh, a stocking, oh, a Christmas tree star. You're just doing it rotely, right? Brushing the teeth, doing the things. So we want to get really, really present. So I would advise you to do things to stay very present into your body. So these are going to be things like not just doing your visual tree grounding, right? Not just
Right.
doing a 5 senses ground throughout the day. We need to step it up. So you're going to be doing things like actually physically getting into your body as you move through things rotely. So as you go into the bathroom to brush your teeth, you're going to be aware and you're going to say, I am in my body while I'm brushing my teeth. As you're grabbing hold of the handle and turning it on, I want you physically feeling the metal of the handle in your hand. It feels cold. I can feel it, the smoothness of the handle. I can hear the water rushing out of the faucet. I see the water. I put my hand under the water. It feels warm. I feel the plastic of like physically stay in your body as you're moving through each of these mundane, even minuscule detail to detail of each tiny task that you're doing. I'm now squeezing the toothpaste. Oh, I can feel the squish of the tube of the plastic. Like lean in. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
I've got the toothpaste. All right. I feel the bristles on my gums. I feel the pressure of that. I feel it. It feels tingly. I can feel the mint. I can what can I taste? I taste this. Oh, I want you to lean into it all the way. Literally, we're going microscopic here. Okay. We're getting microscopic. It's not just, oh, I went in and I spent, 7 minutes brushing my teeth. Like literally you're getting into each millisecond and what that feels like in each millisecond to stay in your body doing this. Okay.
Got it.
That's what I want you doing throughout the day, because that's the only way that you're going to have to retrain yourself to get in your body. And while you're doing this, you're also going to have to be working with your spirit and saying, it's okay to be in my body. It's safe. He's right here. We don't have to pop out of our body. It's safe. I'm here. Then do some things to raise your vibration. Okay. So Parker, let's dance. Put on fight song. Guys, Rachel Patton's fight song, put that song on, scream the damn words at the top of your lungs. It is one of the most empowering songs you will ever sing about taking back your damn life that has been written. Sounds cheesy, I know, but it is an empowering ass song. Dance, scream it out, get in there, do some grief tapping. But when you grief tap, Becky, you're going to have to be present in doing it. You have to feel the pressure of the tap. Okay, you're not just going to move through the motions of it. You actually have to feel the pressure of it, and you want to visualize that being released out of your body. Okay, for those of you that haven't utilized grief tapping, great to utilize it. It's great for disassociation. It's great to release trapped energy. I would look in, you can Google grief yoga, grief stretching. I would look into anything somatic that you can get your hands on right now is a good idea if you're disassociating. I would keep doing 5 senses grounding too, but I think you're going to have to lean in further into like the minuscule micro details like we just talked about, because you are disassociating. That's why the fog has come back. Okay. It's probably not going to go away all the way this year.
Right.
Okay. So, but if you can get a handle on it, then with each passing year, you'll get to be more and more present. Okay.
Okay. Are there
just so
signs? Sorry.
Go ahead. No,
Are
go
there
ahead.
signs to look for with disassociation so that if it's starting to creep up again or or becoming worse that you can see it and
It's-
acknowledge
that-
it?
That's really, it's a self-awareness thing for me.
Okay.
I am a natural disassociator. I have kind of hovered right here my whole entire life. I got really good at being in my body probably until this year, and I've kind of started back to kind of hovering about right here. What I've noticed is pretty much my whole life I've been a very clumsy person, and what I've now pinned together is my clumsiness happens mostly when I am out of my body. So I will stub a toe like no other when I am out of my body, because universe is like, bitch, get back in your body. And I will like chop a toe off on a door jamb because I am so unaware of the spatial position of my body that I will ram a toe up under the door and literally rip a whole toenail off. It's a very painful way to realize you're disassociated. But so are you generally, do you feel like you get clumsier when you're disassociated?
No, not necessarily. I think I I feel like it tends to come when I start to feel pressure or overwhelmed from a lot of people needing me, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Okay, so time out. That means that there are boundaries that need set.
Yes.
So if you feel like I will set a boundary, I will tell you, I was not a nice person last week. Like even to my friends, I was not a nice person. Like Kate reached out to me. She's like, oh, I want to talk. And I'm like, I don't feel good. I'm not talking to you. Debbie Wallace reached out to me and I was like, Debbie, I'm in bed. I don't feel good. I'm not going to talk to you. Kathy was like, how you feeling, Nikki? I'm like, no. So like that was me setting boundaries last week because I didn't even have the wherewithal to even be cordial. I was just like, no,
Right.
I'm in bed. So and those people I like, so it was, you're gonna have to set boundaries. You're gonna keep disassociating if you don't set your boundaries, and it's gonna look like I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that right now. No.
All right.
Bottom line, guys, and part of your healing is going to be about setting boundaries with people. It sucks. It causes total shit storms, causes emotional tornadoes all over the place. People don't like it. They will call you selfish. They will not understand why you are not being you. They will, a lot of times I actually get blamed for it as a grief coach, which is amazing, because people start setting boundaries when they work with me. That's fun to be the scapegoat, but it's about, if it's happening when you're people pleasing and then you get overwhelmed, that is your inner spirit trying to nudge you to set boundaries and start saying no, because universe will make you extremely uncomfortable. Your inner spirit will make you extremely uncomfortable when you are doing things that are not in alignment with your spirit and what is best for your highest self. And it sucks. And it often doesn't look like what we feel like we should be doing. And that comes on very strong when you're talking about people pleasing. Doesn't it, Caroline? Comes on very strong. So it is going to be about setting a lot of boundaries, Becky. And I don't know if you're in a position to be able to have the strength to do that, but especially around holidays, guys, it's okay to say no. If they're saying to you, I need you to do this and this and this, say, I don't have and you guys, pull your dead kid card. A lot of y'all are still early enough in the game. Pull the card. Sorry, I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that.
And remember that no is a complete sentence. Don't even offer an excuse. Just say no. Go back, Nike. Just do it. Just say no. No, period. Nothing else.
A lot of honest conversations have to happen in your healing. If you can't just say no, you can say, I don't have the energy for that. I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that. You have to remember, you guys, for everybody else, they're not living your experience. So they have moved forward. Life as they know it has moved on. That's not a bad thing. That's just the human experience. That's how humans operate, right? It's just like us with 9/11. Those families are still grieving, a lot of them. The rest of us have moved on, right? The rest of us, it's a point in history. We've moved on. It's no different. It's human nature. So you can't fault them for having done that. Of course, they're not going to know where you're at, especially if you're not offering them to know where you're at. So it is going to be up to you to say, no, I know that I'm doing very good and I'm healing, but I am having some difficulty this Christmas season, and I don't have the emotional bandwidth for that this year. So no, I'm not doing that. And it is going to be up to you guys. And, maybe it sucks that it's up to you guys, but here's the thing. It's actually one of the gifts because it gives you your voice. For those of you that are people pleasers that have never had your voice, this is actually a gift for you because it gives you your voice. So that's what's happening, Becky. If you're just because your spirit's like, oh, I'm just going to pop out because I don't want to say no. I'm just going to pop out so her body can do all the things. Right? When your spirit's
But
like,
I don't want it to sound like it's not like we're people pleasing here as far as like, oh, sure, we'll go to this event too and we'll do this. It's a lot of life, earth stuff going on within our families that my husband and I are the people that we're the ones they're relying on. We're the adults out of the family helping these people on both sides, both my husband and my side. And it's our family. We love them. They need us. So it's just been difficult.
But there comes a time though, Becky, when you have to really step back and look objectively at whether you are actually helping those people or whether you are enabling them.
those people.
Got it.
Because here's the deal too, from a spiritual standpoint, Becky, and you're not the only client that's going through this right now. I can tell you this. Here's the thing though. If they have a path of struggle and you're there to jump in with the life preserver every time, and they've signed up for this struggle, then you're negating them learning their lesson through their soul contract because you're jumping in and saving them every single time. Okay. Some people have to hit rock bottom to figure out how the fuck that they have to get past their struggle in their soul contract so that they can move forward on their life path. If you keep being an enabler, then you keep jacking up their life path, man. Okay. Not just that, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. Did you guys want me to come on last week and coach you while I was so down in it and in low vibration? Would you have wanted me to come on and coach you? How effective would that have been? No, that would not. I would have been like, you're fine. Everybody shut up. Stop it crying. For bed. Like it wouldn't be, I have nothing to give. So if you want to give, you give with a full heart, right? If you're not giving with a full heart and you're doing it out of obligation, then that is not a good energy exchange anyway.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Time to say no, mama. Gots to say no. Just gots to say no. Who's Becky's Secret Santa? Get her t-shirt that says gots to say no.
Just no. It's fine.
No. Get some t-shirt that says no on the front. No on
I'll
the
just
back.
open it up here. No.
Maybe a hat to match. Possibly some face stickers, a sign. License plate. Boundaries is a big one with healing, guys. How many of you guys have already had to set boundaries that you normally had never set? Christine says, me. Yeah, me too. And here's the deal.
It's
about
really
boundaries,
hard
guys.
too. It's really hard too.
It is. And it's not a one-off.
No.
It's not a one-off because these people, and I'm not saying they're bad people, but like these people are accustomed to you being a certain way.
Yeah.
So like I've had to, you're welcome, Rhonda. Let me know if you need me. Have a good Christmas. Like with my parents are in Florida for Christmas or for snowbird season. They're an hour and a half away. So I won't see them like the whole time they're here. I'll see them intermittently, but like they're coming here and they're going to stay 2 nights here. And so I know that every boundary I've had to set with my mother over the last 6 years, I will have to reset again when she is in my house. Like, it will be like, mind your damn business. No, you don't get to look at my budget. No, you're not going to reorganize my fucking kitchen cabinets. Like, get the hell out of my kitchen. It's not your business. Like, this is not your life. Right? So I'll have to reset these micromanaging Nikki as a child boundaries that I've had to set with her, you know? So just know that boundaries are not a one-off, especially with people you've known your whole life. You're going to have to set them and reset them and reset them and reset them and reset them. And sometimes a boundary for me, especially with my mother, will look like if I'm on the phone with her and it's something that I've had these big, long, drawn out conversations and she still just doesn't get it. I just say, and she's starting to pick at it a little bit, I'll just say, oh, I have a client, I have to go, bye, click. Because I'm like, that's how I set the boundary with her sometimes now, because I'm not going to waste my breath to go into the whole thing when she doesn't get it anyway. So I silently set the boundary by being like, I have a client, gotta go, bye, click. So know how to set your boundary, know when to do the big, long, drawn out conversation, when to just say no, when to just hang up the phone, and what it looks like for any given time in each different person, because it's not a one-off. And it is exhausting sometimes. It does get easier though. Has it gotten easier, Christine?
I'm working on it because I'm a like people pleaser as well. Like, you know, don't want to upset anybody. I want to make nice. So I'm learning. I'm definitely learning. It's a work in progress.
That's okay. That means you're healing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like, I was not a people pleaser. I was kind of the opposite. I know you guys are like, really? So, you know, but even in that, I am an obligated person, right? So even though I'm not like, oh, I want to please all the people, I have a very strong sense of obligation to certain people, right? So I've had to set my boundaries with people that it's not reciprocal energy, right? And so I understand it to that degree. Y'all people pleasers, thank God I did not sign up for that, because it would be bad. It would be bad.
Yeah.
And I probably would have to jump all in and be like, and fuck you, and fuck you. Like, it probably would not went well. So, but just keep at it and know that you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, you're not doing them any good anyway. You know, when you have to really get the visual in your head that when you have 80 people clawing at you, think of 80 people clawing at a chicken drummy, and they're clawing at the chicken drummy, and then there's just the bone left and there's nothing left for you. That's what's happening every time. Right? And if you're not getting anything fed for you, then you're not going to have the fuel to even hold up the next chicken drummy for anybody else. Like, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't. I've had to learn that in my work, you guys, even. Like, there are times in the big group, you'll see me just whoosh, disappear, because I got to recharge, because I've just given it. And in the big group, it's not a reciprocal relationship. You know what I mean? I do that on a volunteer basis. So it's like, I have to step away to be able to recharge, or I don't have anything to give and I get compassion fatigue. So yeah, those of you that are of service, you know about compassion fatigue, I'm sure. It is real. So how are we feeling about holiday coming? Hold up on a vibrational scale. How are we feeling? Where are you guys at? I don't like an 8. Okay, good. All right.
That's 7.
Debbie, 7's a win, girl. I'm taking 7 as a damn good win for you. 5, okay, 4.
I feel like an 8, but I feel like I'm cocooning myself a little. You know what I mean?
That's okay, Lee.
Yeah.
That's
So
okay if you're cocooning.
I just set a boundary with my mom then. She just said, "Oh, darling, we're going for a drive to see a relative. It's an hour and a half away. Come with me." And I said, "No, thank you." She said, "Are you doing your Zoom thing still?" A Zoom thing. And she knows what it is. And I said, "Yeah, I am doing my Zoom thing. Your aunties are coming in the car." And I already picture what that'll be like. And they'll be bitching about Christmas and who's
You're
cooking
like,
what,
I have
Yeah.
Zoom for 8 more hours, Mom.
I'm still going. And she's like, "We'll all go out to lunch." And she's trying to make it nice. But yeah. Anyway,
That's
we'll see.
okay. That's, and I don't even consider that cocooning, Lee. Like, guys, if you don't, people are draining. And especially around the holidays, like, I'm not going to go out and be around negative ass people. Like, I'm not going to do it, So if you have family members or friends or whoever that it's a constant drain, it's absolutely okay to be like, nope, not doing it,
Nikki, can I ask something?
Yeah.
It's not actually the holiday, but my question is actually, it was interesting when I first jumped on, you guys were talking about work. And I thought that was really interesting how that when I jumped on, that's what it was talking about, because I started a job this week.
Oh,
I know. Yeah. So, my husband's like, "You need to get a job, Debbie." I'm like, so I asked, so I surrendered. I said, "All right. So if I have to have a job, you have to tell me where to go and, what to do." Cause I'm like, do I go back to what I'm doing? I don't know if I can go back to what I'm doing. So I surrendered. And so, I saw my old boss, like I haven't seen her in 14 years, and I saw her twice in 1 week or 1 month. And she's like, "Oh, do you want to come back to work for me?" And I'm like, "Oh, hell no. I don't think I never wanted to go back to, this is an old job." But she's like, "You know what? There's an opening." So so that's
that's the
twice
tap
in
on
1
the
month.
shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I put in applications to different places. But I'm like, I don't know if I can go back to therapy. I don't know if I'm the same person. I just don't know. So I put out different applications. And of course, one place called me. I'm like, I am qualified for all these places. And one place called me. Of course, it's the one with my old boss. And I got an interview. And like a week later, I start. So it was like, so surrender. And again, I asked Isaac, you have to tell me. My concern is that obviously I'm nervous because it's been almost 6 years since I worked. Everything I've been through, I'm rusty. But my biggest thing is, so you're talking about, with grief, you have that brain fog. And I'm worried that my brain is not going to be there. You know what I mean? It's like I've healed a lot, but that's not, I don't know how to say that. Like, and I know, like, I've been taking a lot of grief courses, and they talk about, like, they're comparing traumatic grief to brain injuries because it
Yeah.
affects the brain and it takes so long to kind of reboot. But that worries me that, will this brain fog like permanently affect me and to be able to do good work? You know what I mean? Like, you surrender, you take like you were saying, you have to step in. If universe says this is what you're supposed to do, you step in. And I keep doing the automatic writing, and I keep saying, just trust, and this is where you're supposed to be. But my concern is, will that grief fog, will that like affect me or ever get better? Or is that making sense?
It does, but here's the deal. So what if you walk into this without even thinking about any of that, and you let all of these experiences take you to a higher level of being a therapist, because now you've lived through them? And Debbie, you've said to me, I've said to you, when all of you damn therapists came in and I started coaching y'all, and I was like, okay, you guys are freaking me out a little bit because I'm not a therapist and I don't have the background or the college, and you guys are like, oh, you're so good at what you do because you coach from your experience. And you guys kept saying that, and you kept saying that, and you kept saying it. So I'm telling you now, eat your words, woman. Go in and do what you do. go in and you do what you do from the experience that you've had now, because just like you've told me, all of the textbooks that you've read, all of the education that you've had is not what connects you to these people and what's going to inevitably help them anyway. It's the experience and the way that you've moved through it is what's inevitably going to help them more than any of the education that you've had anyway. So the
True.
fact that you've experienced brain fog through trauma is going to allow you to say, I've experienced brain fog through trauma, and I know tools that can help you with that. You can do tapping. You can do 5 senses grounding. You know about somatic healing, Debbie. You don't even have to bring the spiritual tools into it, because you know about somatic therapies. You know about CBT. You know about DBT. You know about NLP. So you can take the earthside therapies that you know work in the trauma brain scenario, and that you know, just like what I told Becky about leaning into the micro details of being present and aware in your physical body, and you can use those to help with brain fog. Take your experience and use it. Hallelujah that you've lived through brain fog, because now you know how to help these people with it. You can read about how to deal with brain fog all day long, and it's not going to tell you how to help them. You have moved through that. Sometimes you still move through it.
So
You know
I
what?
still have brain fog, and I just don't know if that's ever going to go away. So I mean,
Well,
you're
but
farther out.
you
You're
start
farther
to
out than me. Do
you
you
start
still
to employ
struggle?
steps to mitigate that, though, Debbie, because like me, I went back to work a week after Sophie died, right?
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
working full time every day since then. I am a web and graphic designer for the company that I work for. I build websites. I manage the websites. I launch the websites. I do all the HTML coding and all that stuff. It's very involved. And yeah, there have been times where it's affected me, but I have found tricks to employ to help that. I take more notes than I used to do. I'll take pictures of things on my phone. You find all these little tools, just like you found the tools to heal your grief. You're going to find the tools that it will help you to overcome what you're considering obstacles in going back to the workforce.
Mhm.
Don't get imposter syndrome, woman. Don't do it. And yes, I
Yeah.
still have brain fog. I was sitting in the living room 2 days ago. Kat said something to me. She literally said something to me. And I walked out of the room, and I walked back in the room, and I looked at her and I said, why did I just say that? And she said, Nikki, you didn't say that. I said that. And I said, oh, okay. And I walked off and I was like, brain fog. So yeah, I still have moments of it. I mean, you see me, I have moments on it here, and I'm like, somebody just said something about something. It's okay. Go in there and
Okay.
be human and just say, you
Right.
know what? I have lived through trauma. You know why you guys connect with me is because
Mhm.
I can come on here and I say, I'm a real ass human being. And I have brain fog. I've been through grief waves. I wanted to kill myself.
Mhm.
I don't placate with you. I don't act professional. I don't do all the things. I don't blah blah blah. Only la di da di da. I come in here and I get real with you, correct?
Right.
And you can relate with me because I've been through what you go through.
Mhm.
Connect with your clients on that level. I mean, you don't have to be dropping the F-bombs and chomping on the gum like I do, but
Right.
you can say to them, I know what brain fog is. I still struggle with it sometimes.
Mhm.
I can, this is how I manage it when I'm going through a deep spell of it. This is how I manage it.
Mhm.
Every single thing that Debbie, I started coaching in my first group when the first group I formed when I was 8 months out. And I started coaching, and I didn't even know I was coaching. And all I was doing was saying, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing every day. I'm doing this. I'm trying this. I'm trying this. I'm trying this. I'm trying this. And I was just literally documenting like everything I was doing. I was sharing with these people, and other people started doing it. And we were like, oh my God, it's working. Oh my God, it's working. Oh my God, it's working. So really, some of the best people that you go to are the people that are just really forging the path right ahead of you of what you're going through. And they're trying out all this stuff, and you're coming up behind them and they're saying, hey, try this, it's working, it's working. So
Mhm.
this is the availability that you're affording these people that you're going to go in and help. because you're
Right.
not so far removed from it, and you're not just learning it out of a book. You have
Mhm.
lived it. You are living it.
Right. And
That brings a different level of expertise to the field that you're going to work in.
right. And I
And
told him that's what my goal is, to be a grief specialist. So obviously I figure, why the hell am I going to go through this for 2 years and not do something with it?
well, and I'm going to tell you, as you move through into your grief specialist,
Mhm.
you can read all the things and learn all the things and all the things. Don't forget about the most valuable education you're going to get to be a grief specialist is your own journey and what you've
Yep.
learned. It's
Right.
tried and true. You know,
Do you,
if I had to, I would consider myself a grief specialist
oh yeah, very much
because
so.
of the, you know, the journey. And
Well,
so
Nikki,
it's gonna, that's
I'm
gonna,
taking your stuff with me. So just to let you know, I'm taking your tools with me here. So yeah, I would say you're a
well,
grief specialist. But so do you, like, especially like when you first were getting in, like, I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm gonna have to call everybody in. I want to be like, I'm sick, and my mom, and like be with me, because I'm worried about that. Like, I'm gonna get there and I'm just gonna be like, I have
don't
no idea
overthink
what I'm
it.
doing. I can't
Don't
think,
overthink it.
you know?
You've been steeped in this for so long now that this is natural verbiage for you. It's natural conversation for you. Don't
Mhm.
overthink this. Don't let the fact, what'd you tell me, Nikki? Don't let the fact that we're therapists come in and jack up your flow. You know what I
Right.
mean? Don't overthink it on the earth side of things. Yeah, you're going in as a professional therapist, all of the things. Okay, that's great. But the fact of the matter is, if you've been called into this line of work, then you're just going to talk about what you know and what you know works, and that's going to be your best bet. Okay. So don't get hung up with all the, recent studies and all of the things, and
True.
keep up to date on it, know what you're talking about, but you already know what you're talking about. You're already
Right.
living it,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
that's what helped, is not all the stuff that I learned. It's the stuff I learned along the way. So,
Exactly. And this stuff you're going to keep learning. I stay
yeah.
up to date on stuff. You know, I read mental health journals online about the studies that are being done on grief. I read stuff. I mean, I'm well versed in traumatic brain injury too, because Bobby had several and he should be dead. But so I just, I've always done that as a hobby, right? I should probably have a degree, honestly, but instead I
Yeah.
just have done it as
You
a
have a
hobby.
life degree.
I have a life degree, but I do study that stuff, but there's very little of that that comes into play in coaching beside just knowing how the brain works on a very basic level, because
Mhm.
you guys, most of these people don't need to know how the brain works on anything past the basic level, right? You
Right.
need to know how the ditch is dug and how to dig the new ditch. That's what we
Right.
need to know, right?
Exactly.
So just keep it simple. Tell them what you know, tell them how to move through it, tell them what you've done.
Right.
You may eventually, you've heard people in class, Debbie, say, I finally found a therapist that believes in afterlife and will let me talk about it and doesn't want to commit me because they think I'm crazy. I
True.
told all of you gals when I had you all in classes, like, you will be on the front lines to make this more mainstream, where people can go in and find a therapist who will foster and nurture the connection to these kids in spirit. And they
Mhm.
won't chalk it up to bereavement hallucinations like therapists
Right.
of the past did,
Mhm.
right? So that's exciting. Be excited. That's cutting edge.
And I
Yeah.
just want to say, I kind of did that too. I went from being
Yeah.
administrative for 20 years to a school counselor. And when you go in there and you just start seeing these kiddos, I mean, the words kind of just start flowing. I mean, I had
Do
to
they?
yeah.
Yeah, Angie's like, I'm gonna get fired.
Yeah, at first I was like talking about too much. I did cut that back a little bit. Oh, here, pick your Christmas gift that you're drawn to. And they're like, yeah. So I catch myself. You know.
Mhm.
So,
But
and it does
yeah.
make you feel, it just makes me feel so much better.
Yeah.
And the good thing about it too is because you're going to be steeped in it now, and you're
Mhm.
going to be walking your talk now. okay,
True.
in your professional life. So what
Mhm.
that's going to do to you, Debbie, is it's going to dig your ditch even further, and it's going to further your paradigm shift where you can now actually become fully enveloped in your paradigm shift, and it's not going to be a private thing anymore. It can become more whole for you.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's actually going to be a very powerful, profound experience for you as well. It has the capability of being that for you.
Yeah, I think so. I think it once I get in, I think it'll be better. But yeah, and
Besides,
nice
you
thing
don't have
is
a choice because they
I
already put
know
it in front of you.
they
So
did. And
suck it up, Buttercup.
well, and I asked for it and they said, okay, here you go. Now do it,
Now
so
do it.
but yeah, like, and I think like you said that I know my truth. I know what I know, you know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
don't let people shake me of that anymore. And so
Right.
okay, thank you. I
And
just need that
who'd
little
have
pep talk.
thought? I mean, who'd have thought even last year that you would have been ready to jump back into work this year? That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I didn't think so.
absolutely amazing. Lee, would you have thought last year that she'd be going back to work this Christmas?
No,
That's
I was
freaking
just thinking
amazing.
then how incredible it is, Debbie.
Thank you.
Absolutely
Good on you.
amazing.
So, well, thank you.
Absolutely
So-
amazing. Congratulations. That's how it's done. Good stuff. So for all of you, I'm gonna call Debbie out. I'm gonna put her on blast right now. This woman 2 years ago couldn't sit through a holiday program. She cried every single day and she pretty much hated me because she did not agree with almost anything that came out of my mouth. So if you think that healing isn't possible, this is a true testament to it right here, right now. Okay. So it can be done. You work it, you engage, it can be done. It can be done. Way to go, girl. Way to go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. She's very humble too. All right. So are we ready for holiday? You guys got this? Do we got it? Do we feel more prepared than last year? Do you feel like the program has helped at all?
I've never been prepared in my life, but I'm as prepared as I'll ever be.
Well, the key is that we're going to move through holidays with more ease. It's just some days, guys.
Mhm.
It's just some days. Okay. Just some days. Kids are going to be there. We're going to set boundaries where needed. You know, there's more pressure. I hope you're feeling, this sounds bad, but I hope you're feeling more pressure like earth side, right? Where you have to set boundaries and get your own vibration in check. Like, I hope it's a thing where you know your kids are going to be there and you're more worried about the humans that you have to deal with than the fact that your kids aren't going to be there. Does it feel that way a little bit? Okay. So to deal with the people, all the peoples, we're going to set boundaries. If you have to excuse yourself to go into the bathroom to cut cords and surround and protect yourself, do so. If you have to say no, you have to leave early, you have to kick people out your house early, you have to go to your bedroom for some quiet time, do the things you need to do to self-care. Okay? Everybody feeling strong enough to do that? Okay. Ground, 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 get into your body. Say no where needed. You know where to find me if you need me. Otherwise, I will see you guys Tuesday night. Let's do some closing. Okay. Everybody take a nice, deep, big, deep breath. I gotta spit this gum out so I don't choke on it. I need somebody, at least one, to unmute. You can all unmute if you want, but I need at least one to unmute so I know how quick to go when I'm saying these things. Okay. Everybody close your eyes. Nice big deep breath in and exhale. Repeat after me. Archangel Michael.
Archangel Michael,
Archangel Azrael.
Archangel Azrael,
Please come down.
Please come down.
Cut all energetic cords
Cut all
All
energetic
energetic cords
that drain me,
that drain me,
that do not serve my highest purpose.
that do
do
not serve my
your
highest purpose.
Please surround and protect me.
Please
Please
surround and protect me
me.
In divine white light.
in divine
Bright,
light.
bright light.
Thank you, and so it is.
Thank you, and so
it is.
See, I even got the brain fog during that. Oh, I popped out somewhere for a minute. I'm not sure where I went. All right, get your hands moving. Energy flowing. Palms up. Oh, pardon me, guys. Sorry. Cooper, stop crying. Go away. Okay, hold on, guys. My dog. Go away. Go away. Go away. Go away. Dude, you have to go away. Omri, will you come get this dog, please? I'm trying to close out. Good Lord. Sorry. He's been good the whole time. He wants to close out too. Okay. Again. Deep breath. All right. I want you guys to say, I call all of my power back to me now.
I call
all of my power back to me now.
I want you to see those beams of light coming in from each other, coming in from all over the world if you've been online, from anybody you've been on the phone with, in contact with, the grocery store, any other place. They come and they center into the palm of your hand. As they hit the palm of your hand, they come into liquid light. You may feel the palms of your hand get warm as that liquid light moves down into your forearms, to the elbows and up into your upper arms. That light spreads through your shoulders and into your chest space, up through the neck and into the head space, back down through the chest space and into the heart space. It flows, filling the body cavity, through the ribs, the upper abdomen, down through the belly button area, lower abdomen, through the hips and the buttocks, spreads down, down through the upper
Lighting up.
thighs, into the knees, as it moves down through the lower leg, into the ankles and the heels, feeling the feet and every single tip of every single toe. Get a good, strong visual of your divine power filling your entire body. You may feel hot flashes or warm. That is your divine power that connects you to yourself, to your child, to source, to your power, to your healing, to your thriving, to your best life. When you see it, when you feel it, say thank you, and so it is.
Thank you, and so it is.
All right, guys. I will see you guys on Tuesday. I'm going to post for Zoom takeaways. And other than that, have a great night. It was lovely seeing all of your faces. Thank you all for engaging and always coming on to Zooms. I love seeing you guys. And I hope we have a great week. And remember, your kids are near.
Thank
And
you.
if you have questions, post them in the group, and you know where to find Kathy and I will see you soon.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.